I was born to live, live to ride, ride to live. I was born to ride. American built, we forever unite. And that's the deal. I was born to ride. Alabama to Miami, Daytona, Tallahassee, from the East Coast to the West Side, here in Florida, we were born to ride. I was born to live, live to ride, ride to live. I was born to ride. American built, we forever unite. And that's the deal. I was born to ride.
Born to Ride is sponsored in part by Rubenstein Law, 1-800-FL-LEGAL, representing riders since 1988. Offices throughout Florida, 1-800-FL-LEGAL. If Instagram is your thing, we're there. We're everywhere. Follow us at #Born to Ride Motorcycle Media, your #1 motorcycle resource.
For all those people that are all smartened up talking Kiz, Arnie, and K-Fizz, Abe, they know what's going on. What you gonna do when Born to Ride runs wild on you, brother?
Well, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. It's the Flashman, and Born to Ride Radio is on everywhere, even if you got a funny hat. You know, listen, normally I'm wearing that one, but I'm thinking that today is one of those special days where, I don't know, tequila's flowing all over the Tampa Bay area, your margaritas, if you've got one of those in hand right now. Get ready for 1 hour of amazing biker radio. We have got none other than the man with the master plan. Came all the way up from Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice. I don't know. He broke from Miami for all. He made it in an hour. My boy, Nefarious James, is in the house. He made it. Welcome to the show, man. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, happy Cinco de Mayo to you, too.
Did you? Were you able to stop and grab a margarita or some tequila on the way up?
Absolutely not.
What? Get out. Get out.
I went right from work to here. You don't make it in an hour by making stops.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Well, what'd you come up on? What'd you drive?
Today I took the 98 Springer Heritage.
No wonder you made it in plenty of time. And there's plenty of time, I guess, for some tequila and some adult beverages after for Cinco de Mayo. We'll celebrate that.
Absolutely.
So listen, dude. Ron told me you were coming last week. I was excited to get you out here and get you on the show. I read. I was reading in the March, the last time I was able to go out and actually get a Born to Ride copy of magazine up there at the Kahunas. I was reading your article on Now Leave, and I was enthralled by that. So dive right into it, man. Give me some of the details on your thoughts with Now Leave.
Well, my thoughts on Now Leave, it's been Daytona is pretty much a staple right now as an example of what's been going on with, I guess you could say, law enforcement flexing its muscle in order to stop clubs from being able to go inside of
Right.
bars, organizations. We're talking even eateries.
And get a little closer to that mic so they're saying they can't hear you.
Okay, the big red thing.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
Don't let it scare you.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's a clown nose. But no, it comes down to where it's not only over in Daytona, it's in Sturgis, it's in a lot of the other major biker events, even it's starting to creep into the smaller venues where they don't want you in there. If you're wearing a patch on your back, it doesn't matter whether. See, here's the misconception, is that it's for outlaw clubs anyway. I love that term, outlaw club.
Yeah, don't you love that?
Always entertaining.
Yeah.
But it's for any club, any patch you have on your back, whether it's a veterans club, whether it's a religious organization, it doesn't matter.
See, that's what I thought was interesting. I was, and I love how you kind of saved that for the last part of the article, and that really is what struck the nerve with me.
Right. Well, I know what ended up happening when I first put it out there. I put it out on social media. Figured I'd test it, see if people were even aware of this. And a lot of people, first thing, were like, "Oh, this goes for outlaw clubs. This goes for those, the dark side." Which I always love the dark side part. Yeah. And I was like, you guys don't even have a clue on what's really going on here. I mean, it doesn't even matter if you put Lone Wolf whatever on your back. You got that patch on your back, you're not going in that bar to get a drink.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're Christian, motorcycle, it doesn't matter. If you have a patch on your back, you're not going in. They had that at the fairgrounds in Tampa some years back. I'm thinking like 6 maybe years ago.
Right.
Where a law firm ended up representing a bunch of bikers. The Confederation of Clubs got involved. So you had a whole mix. Everything from Veterans Club, religious, 1% clubs, all showed up at the gates looking to gain entrance because they didn't want to have patches going inside the venue. Eventually, they did allow everybody in, of course, under definite observation.
Mm-hmm.
But it still comes down to it's a violation of your constitutional rights. You have the right to assemble, regardless of what your religious affiliation, regardless of what your group affiliation. It is your right in this country to do that. And if you really want to end up coming down soup to nuts, and I'm about to make a whole lot of friends here on this one, so
Do it, man.
Oh yeah, luckily I've got my AAA's got my bail bonds already set.
There you go.
That's not AA, by the way.
He's not a quitter.
Yeah, here we go. But the largest group, if you end up taking a look at the definition of gang, and I'm sure a lot of people end up having other things to add to this, is any group or organization, all right, that ends up wearing the same attire, the same color, the same badging, the same. Basically, you're wearing matching outfits.
Mm-hmm.
I got pulled over years ago, and one of the things I ended up looking at is all law enforcement agencies are wearing the same colors. They're wearing the same uniforms, if you want to end up putting it. And one of them actually told me while he had me down on the ground by an M4 and said, "You know what? You're messing with the wrong group of people. We're the biggest club in this country."
He said that.
He said that. Now, you're looking at, basically what is that? Well, that's intimidation to me. You're trying to flex what you've got to put the fear of whatever it is you want in me. And I'm sure I'm not the only ones. In fact, other people that I spoke to over the years have told me the same thing about harassment and intimidation. Like I said, this is going to make me a lot of friends on it, but it's what's going on. It's no different than what you're seeing on these videos on social media. I'm not saying all. It's just like, sort of like, I don't know, kind of rambles a little bit when I end up going with my thought pattern here. Sort of like when you end up taking a look at it and they say all motorcycle clubs are, with organized crime. All of them are criminals. All of them break the law. All of them deal in drugs. All of them run prostitutes. All of them do this. All of them do that. And I get this straight. It's not all of anybody. No matter what group, no matter what organization, no matter what collective of people you have, there are always individuals who are going to do what they want to do. That's their right. Whether it's right or wrong, socially acceptable, unacceptable, it does not matter. It's their right to do it. It's their risk for the consequences of whatever they do. But that also applies or should apply to law enforcement as well. Because how many officers do we see? Well, I know there was a task force in a town down over by me, which we'll leave nameless at this time. Don't want to make that many friends.
Yeah.
That were in charge of investigating break-ins that they were doing.
Really?
Okay? So when you end up having groups, that means it's saying, what, all law enforcement is bad? No, it's not. All law enforcement isn't bad. Remember I said that, by the way. But also, like everything else, there's a bad apple in every bushel. Every
Right.
bushel. So you can't take one or two individuals, make them your poster child for evil, and say, this is what's going on, and this is the way it is, and all of them are like
All
that.
of them, right. Right.
Okay, so and that's the point I'm trying to make on those things, is that not everyone is a bad apple in that bushel,
Right.
but you're gonna have some, and it's with every group, whether you're in a riding club, whether you're in a motorcycle club, religious club, and whether you're in a law enforcement agency. There's always somebody that puts that stain on that shirt.
And it's a shame that those few, as you say, the bad apples, as the rest of the saying goes, it spoils the bunch. And then
Absolutely.
people will draw their assumptions, as we know what that means, from that as well. I mean, we talk about it pretty much every week with anybody who comes in here who is a biker. When somebody's in need, one of our fellow bikers or a war veteran or something like that, who are the first people 9 times out of 10 that show up with bags full of groceries or raising a fundraiser, doing a motorcycle run to make things happen to help better the community and help one another? It's the bikers.
Correct.
We talk about it every single week, and it can be the Harley riders, it could be the Honda riders, it could be the crotch rocket riders. They all come together as a biker family, and I tell you, man, that's what, to me, that's what being a biker's about, man. And really, when I took the time to really get in and really dissect what you were saying with that thing, I was pretty impressed with the way you worded it, and I loved how you kind of left, like you say, and you kind of let it out there for the people that are always making the assumption to go, yeah, see, and then you say, well, look, the law enforcement folks, they all are wearing the same thing. Are they not allowed in? It made perfect sense. The religious groups, hey, the Christian riders, are they not allowed in to have a cocktail?
Right.
Who can say? You know what I mean? So that I absolutely love that. So you got a bunch of columns out there. That was one of them. Enough. That was another one. What were your thoughts on that one?
Enough. Remind me on that one.
It just says enough.
Sometimes I have.
You had
cocktails
enough,
that I
and then you had respect. Oh, and then I'll tell you another one that I liked was the unspoken responsibility.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, on a collective with all the articles, I usually go with some basis I've had with a personal experience or observations. It just comes down to where people need to start thinking for themselves. They need to start looking at things with more open eyes than what they do, especially when we're looking at what's going on right now. Yeah, you have people feeding off of of social media, off the media, CNN, NBC, Fox, whatever they decide they want to have on their television set at the time. And I get this all the time. I'll put an example of maybe something from the Senate or from the House. And I'll put the numbers on there, everything they need to look it up. But they'll still go, well, what is all this? They won't take the time to look it up themselves. To realistically put it, they're too freaking lazy. They want it handed to them. They want it fed to them. And that's the biggest problem. News media will feed it to you. They'll tell you what they want you to hear. They'll tell you what they want you to believe. They'll give you the numbers that they want you to end up absorbing and go, oh, my God, I'm having the worst day in the world. And
What's going to have the biggest
Armageddon's
ratings?
Yeah. and that's just it. They're looking at it by what somebody else is giving them who they don't know from Jack stuff.
You know who.
Yeah.
That Jack guy.
But it comes down to, if that's the case, you'll believe what anybody tells you. The homeless guy who walks up to you and sits there and goes and asks you for change or asks you for a beer or says, we'll work for food, and then goes and puts the meter in his Mercedes. Or who are you going to believe? If you're going to sit there and just blindly believe everybody. Now, don't get me wrong. Goodwill is a great thing. Wanting to trust your fellow man, absolutely awesome. It's a fantastic concept. But there are people out there who take advantage of that, and they take advantage of it in the worst way. And like we spoke about earlier, bikers are very giving people. I, for one, never want to see a person hungry or homeless. So, I'll go out of their way. And if I have work to give them, I'll offer them that work. I can tell you probably on one hand out of 100 people actually took the opportunity to have the job.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier to get a suntan on your palm than it is to go out there and put blisters on your fingers. And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
Now, there's some people out there who can't physically work. All right, and I understand that. And there's programs for that, and they're pain in the ass to get into. I understand that too. But it still comes down to we blindly start to believe things as a people and don't look into it ourselves. And as bikers, our giving nature immediately wants to dig into your pocket and give that guy $1, give him $5 or whatever. Start thinking about it with the charities too. You know, I mean, we go to all these runs. We love riding in groups. We like being seen. We like getting dressed up, get on our bikes, and be seen with our friends and have that camaraderie and whatnot to go on that ride. But is that ride you're on truly what it's for? I mean, you're talking about agencies and groups that are making thousands of dollars, not claiming the thing, and where does it go? You know? So you start thinking for yourselves. Think about it with this virus. Think about it with the healthcare. Think about it with charities. Start opening your eyes. Don't believe everything you see on TV. See, that's why I don't watch television. It's the most ludicrous, retarded thing I think I could actually put myself and waste my time in front of, because I'll look at one channel and the next one will tell me a totally different thing.
Right.
You know, so you got to start thinking for yourselves, people, on every level. You know, it's sort of like that. What was it? My ex-wife and I used to end up talking about. It's that always big question. So what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Oh, I don't know. Well, why not just make TV dinner saying, I don't know, whatever you want,
That's a
it's
good
Thursday.
thought.
And put the name on the package this way when you go, what do you want on Thursday? I don't know what I want. Well, here's your I don't know what I want.
It was delicious.
It was great.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it was great.
It was delish.
We got to start looking into things to give ourselves our own answers. Do our own research. Don't believe what everybody's telling you. Because if that's the case, when this is over, you go onto my Facebook page, I'll give you a whole list of things you could buy from me.
Yeah.
I probably don't own them.
But it doesn't
just
matter.
take my word for it.
But it's on the internet, so
Yeah,
it must be
it's
right.
gotta be
huh?
true.
Somebody, hey, listen, Nefarious James sent me that. It must be right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Here, it's half of a pair of old socks. It's great.
Yeah, there you go.
Elvis
Nefarious
wore 'em.
James is in the house with us here on Born to Ride Radio, talking about some of the things and some of the columns that he's written. We want to dive some more into it because, like I say, man, this is talking real stuff, real, stuff. So we'll get back into that. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk. Actually, we got a chance to interview with Bill Dodge, Eric Alad from Chopperama at Gibtown. Nefarious, I don't know if you saw that or not, some of the footage from that, but they did a great job out there at Gibtown this year. And we got the footage, and we are back with more Nefarious James on Born to Ride Radio. You stay right there.
Bill Dodge, what's happening, man? Great to have you here at Gibtown at Chopperama. What are you thinking, man?
I love Gibtown. I love it. I love this place. I'd like to move here. It's so cool.
Well, you got your shop in Daytona, right?
Oh,
Tell us
yeah,
about
I'm
it.
good. I'm coming. Yeah, I love it here. It was a lot of fun so far. I mean, we still got the rest of today, but it's been a great show. A lot of cool people. Noticed that a lot of the people around, the workers and the guests, are much kinder than most bike rallies.
Yeah, and what you guys have brought to this building had a lot of culture and coolness, man. People are really digging it.
We love our bikes, so it's nice to show them off and have fun with everybody. But unfortunately, we love it too much. It's part of us.
Yeah, man. So, Eric, man, tell me about you. You're kind of a local guy, too, right?
Yeah, local guy, Lakeland, so not too far at all, 30 minutes away.
I mean, people are freaking out on the bikes in there, but that one everybody's talking about always is that purple, unbelievable chopper thing. Tell me about that bike.
It's a 65 Ironhead. It's got a 50 over front end. It's got 2 front heads and downdraft Weber carbs, 2 magnetos, all kinds of, pretty much everything's, messed with on it or been modified in some way or another. So I saw a video somebody posted, Josh Kirby has posted years ago of some Japanese chops that they were doing right about 10 years ago. And they just inspired me to build that bike. And, me and a friend Josh built it together and had a good time. Took a while to build it, but it came out pretty good. They were doing some crazy stuff with like long bikes and even longer than that one.
Yeah.
Way longer. So it's wild what they did over there.
Well, I remember interviewing at the swap meet, man, when you had that BMW.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like it enduroed it out, man. That was like way ahead of its time with visionary design, man.
Put like a chain drive on it and converted it to a chain drive. So.
Do you still have it?
And I do still have it.
Yeah. it's cool because I can see the inspiration that you've given others this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's pretty awesome. Yeah, to be able to do that.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. It's I want to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool thing about it, it's a rally, so it's not like we just had to have the people come for this show.
Yeah.
The rally already brings the people. We just highlighted something really
yeah,
cool
you had
this
those
year.
dirt bike kids over there acting crazy too. That's pretty awesome. Man, those guys are having a good time also.
Well, how do you sum it up? Any last words? And how can people get in touch with you too?
They can follow me on Instagram, FNA Custom Cycles, or just Google it. It'll come up, and they can get a hold of me through my website. So,
Oh, man, any last words?
just having a good time, hanging out.
All right, cool, man. Bill, any last words, man?
Ride choppers.
Yeah, how do they get in touch with you?
Just call me up on my phone or blingcycles.com or Bling Cycles on Instagram also. My phone number's been out there so long, you could probably ask your next door neighbor. They probably have it.
All right, guys, I really appreciate it.
Have a good day, man.
All right, give me a thumbs up.
What's up? I'm Finn, and this is Philip from the Picture Books, and you're watching Born to Ride.
Hi, I'm attorney Robert Rubenstein, and this is Rubenstein's Rules for Personal Injury. Rule number 1, get an attorney. When you or a loved one have been injured by another's negligence, an experienced attorney can make a huge difference. At Rubenstein Law, we will find all of the insurance, make sure your injuries are documented, and work to get you the best result. While each case is different, a well-known insurance company's own study showed people with a lawyer on average got more money. Call Rubenstein Law at 1-800-FL-LEGAL.
It's Born to Ride's the Safe at Home Bike Show. A 10-class bike show for you to easily enter. Best of all, it's absolutely free. Just enter your photos of your motorcycle with your name, make, and model to our direct message, Facebook, or Instagram. Best of show to be featured with a photo shoot by Eric Runyon for the cover of Born to Ride magazine. So be a part of the Born to Ride Safe at Home Bike Show.
Cinco de Mayo continues. Yeah, the Cinco de Mayo hat was getting a little hot for me there in the forest, James. I was about to pass out, so we had to take a little break right there.
We can always prop you up.
Listen, yeah, I love Cinco de Mayo as much as the next guy, but God Almighty, I was about to fall over with that big nasty hat on. I hope Mr. Nightlife went out there and got us some Cinco de Bueros. You know, we got to celebrate maybe some margarita mix or something in a blender. Be good.
Something.
So do you have any of the holidays or any of the cool things like that? St. Patty's Day or anything like that you like to really get in? What do you get into the most?
Pretty much. I'm not really into the holidays. I kind of stay at home. I don't go out for amateur night.
Right, that is true, especially on a bike, man.
Yeah, I mean, especially a bike, and obviously for making all my friends,
Yeah.
on here, they have a tendency to want to give you greetings and ask you for extra rubdowns.
There you go.
But all in all, no, I'm not really big on the holiday things and going out too much. But I know one thing I want to end up telling everybody out there is if you have some friends out there right there that are, while you're listening to this, each one of you, I challenge you to get 2 people to come in and listen in, because this stuff might get a little bit interesting, because we're not going to hold back on anything we say. I know I'm not.
Right.
And anyone that ends up asking any questions will give you the best answer we end up having. Like I said before, everything that I end up doing or I end up saying came from some personal experience. Not all of it's been really positive.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't exactly the nicest person for a long time. I know a lot of people say that, but I'm sure if someone looked it up, they'd be able to validate it.
Well, the name like Nefarious James, come on, man, really?
I didn't even give that name to myself. Actually, it was a judge, but that's another
story. Right. Yeah, I think Ron Galletti might have made it stick too.
Yeah, it pretty much is like crazy glue there, but that's all right. It could be a lot worse. I mean, I knew a guy. No, I can't even use that word on here, so I won't say what his name was. But
right.
There's a lot worse out there you could be called. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
I'm all right with this.
Yeah, we're good, especially on Cinco de Mayo after a couple of tequilas and some margaritas. We got a lot of folks that are checking in. We got to get some shout-outs. Kenneth's watching. Mari is watching. Shout out to Jeff and Julie. Brian. Mark Brady's checked in. Monique is checked in. Ron Galetti's even watching. Patty says Happy Cinco de Mayo to you. Ron Galetti, call into the show with you. We need to check the phone line anyway. But we've got questions. We've got questions for you as well.
Was that the handful of people? That's going to cost me what? I was paying each one $5 to check in. So
at least. So, talk to me a little bit about some of the biker rights, some of the things that you think get overlooked, or some of the things that are really piss you off, for more than lack of a better term. I mean, that you think get overlooked. I know you're a big advocate for that.
I think it's biker rights. Florida's a little bit of a different animal as far as the way legislation's written.
Mm-hmm.
Last to my knowledge, and I really haven't been keeping up on it because I decided to do some other things. Your motorcycle is the reason why you don't have to have insurance on your motorcycle is because you're pretty much a recreational vehicle.
Right.
You're not really considered to be a motor vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't seem to be a heck of a lot of difference to some people, but it really is when it comes to the way the law is written and the way that it's interpreted in court. Now,
I wondered about that.
Yeah, so what ended up happening is you've got two edges of that knife there. You got those who are like, well, we want to have the same rights as cars. Why aren't people going after manslaughter, vehicular homicide, blah, 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 blah. And you've got others that are sitting there saying, I don't want to have to pay insurance because now all I really got to do is have the payment on my bike. Well, if you have a payment on your bike, you have to have insurance. But if you own it outright, you pretty much don't have to have it.
Right.
So with that, you got that double-edged sword. If you want to be treated like a motor vehicle, you got to have insurance.
Gotcha.
And it's got to be mandatory.
Gotcha.
And that legislation's got to be changed. So you got a lot of people where it's kind of
it's sort of a crazy balance, teeter-totter.
They want to have it when a friend of theirs gets hit and they all go to court over it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to have it when it comes time when that monthly bill would be due.
Yeah.
So right then and there, especially Florida.
Little catch 22.
Absolutely.
Phone lines are ringing. If something that you'd like to talk to Nefarious James, we'd love to have you. 813-525-5560 is our number. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you didn't hear it. And we got somebody on the line now. Who's this?
Hi, this is BL, and I'd like to take you two to Sturgis.
BL. That's a BL from the BL radio show. Check her out on the Big 8. She comes on after my boy Bubba. What's happening, BL?
How's everything? You guys sound awesome.
Yeah?
I love the lighting.
You like it?
You guys look great. I'm just letting you know the phone lines work, and you're up and running.
Well,
so
that's good.
I'm listening.
That's good. I'm glad you called to test that out and we were kind of worried, because Nefarious was coming up all the way from down south on the Hog, and I wasn't sure how the lighting was going to be with the beard and the whole setting there. So it's looking pretty good, you say?
It's beautiful, and I just wanted to congratulate you guys for putting out a good show for guys that really know how to ride. And it's really cool to look into your world and see how it's supposed to be done. Done right.
That's it.
So,
that's it.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to let you go, and I just want to say hello. And thanks again. Nice to meet you, sir.
BL, we love you.
Okay. Love you guys. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. You got to check out BL. She does the BL show on the Big 8 right here, 8:20 a.m. And she comes on after Bubba the Love Sponge. He's another biker. Likes to get out there and do his thing, hang out with the peoples. So we were talking a little bit about the balance with the insurance. I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with the helmets as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yes and no. For one, most of the numbers and facts I have from when I used to end up being really involved with ABATE.
Mm-hmm.
Ran a chapter here in Florida, went to state level. Yada yada. It all comes down to I was trying to do it to try to push what people wanted, not what individuals wanted. So we'll just leave that topic at that one for another date. But
right,
it came down to there was this big thing with the helmet law, but people don't seem to realize. I'm pro-choice on helmet.
Mm-hmm.
My reasoning and my mentality is this: people are going to say, yeah, helmets save lives. Absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
To a large degree, they save them, and to another degree, they also take them.
Right.
I know people on both sides of that coin. I've seen plenty of wrecks in the time that I ended up working with ABATE. I did a lot of visitations to hospitals, spoke with individuals that ended up having that happen. And the sad part is that it can go either way. It's really a personal choice, in my opinion, for this. They say that it'll raise insurance rates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's if you survive.
Right.
Okay,
Good point.
So if you end up taking a look at it where someone makes a personal decision that, like myself, if I get run over, I'm drugged down under a car, and I'm going to end up being a vegetable for the rest of my eternity and be somebody else's care and a burden on them, let me go. It's as simple as that.
Right.
There's no insurance cost in that. There's a funeral cost, which is substantially less than what an insurance company is going to end up crying about. Family members may not agree with that, especially non-riders, but that's my viewpoint. It should be a person's personal choice because, after all, you are making a long-term decision that if that helmet does its job, you survive the wreck, but you don't survive the impact. There is a difference.
Right.
And you're mentally disabled, you're physically disabled to a point where you're not functioning like you are now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a decision you really got to think about. And a lot of people don't think that far ahead. They think that they're going to get in an accident, they wear riding gear, they wear a helmet, everything's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many factors that are in an accident to really determine what's going to end up happening.
Right.
I've watched, and I'm not even kidding on this one, I watched a guy slip and fall off of a curb, hit it at the back of his head, fractured his neck, became paralyzed, slipping off a curb. So what's the solution? Helmets?
Right.
It's a touchy-feely thing. I think it should be a matter of personal choice. I don't think everything should be insurance company driven and healthcare driven, which is pretty much how we run things nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
After all, how many other businesses do you know that are mandatory, that you have to have by law, other than insurance?
Right.
You know, you have to have it. Otherwise, what? You go to jail. They take your license. They put fines against you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely ridiculous. But it's just the way our society is allowed to slate it because we're willing to sell our personal freedoms and our personal choices to the highest bidder who promises us safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's on your motorcycle, whether it's at your home, a lot of people are willing to have that for sale.
Right.
Some of us aren't. So I
and
don't
like
know if
you
that really
say,
answered your helmet thing or not.
Yeah, I think it's a matter, like you say, I'm with you 100% on that. I think it's a matter of your personal choice. And it's also one of those things where it'll be like a lemming. I mean, like you say, do your due diligence, do your research, right, and make an educated decision for yourself on stuff like that. I totally agree. I was kind of wondering what your thoughts were on stuff like that.
It goes all the way across the board. And going back to the motorcycle registration thing, there was a big thing for a long time, and it still goes on now, where they've got this, kill a biker, go to jail.
Right.
A lot of people, they chant that, someone gets hurt, kill a biker, go to jail. Well, there's a lot of really huge holes in that statement.
Mm-hmm. And
normally I wouldn't share this, but I think this is probably for the good of everybody, and still it's something I'm looking to end up saying. For one, everybody who's listening, everybody who's not listening, everybody who's riding and not riding, no matter what legislation's going on, you do have a say. You can advocate on behalf of yourself and other citizens. Nothing's stopping you from writing a letter, picking up a phone, calling your representative and saying, hey, I don't approve of this. So that's the first part of that statement. The other part is it ends up going where the kill a biker, go to jail thing. Here's a hole in this. I know of two brothers who were riding down Jacaranda down south. Had a hog ended up going across the street. Both of them were on their bikes. Both of them were going at a considerable amount of speed.
Mm-hmm.
The one brother swerved to avoid the hog. He ended up impacting his other brother on the motorcycle. His other brother got killed.
Mm.
So what you're telling me is I should send that already mourning brother who avoided something else to avoid an accident and accidentally killed his brother in the process,
right,
should now go to prison as well for that?
Yeah.
Because under just saying blanketing, kill a biker, go to jail, everyone is involved in that. That's the gray area.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks about that gray area. They got to start thinking about all the little loopholes that they can get caught up in by just making a blanket statement like that. You can't have that. You've got to think of that in and out.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of laws on the books right now that all they do is need to be enhanced in order to cover that. The biggest problem they have is failure to yield and a left-hand turn in front of somebody. You
Yeah.
see it all the time. We
Yeah.
see it probably within this past week. It was in the news.
Especially here.
Yeah.
Especially around here.
Overton, Belcher, you hear it all the time. You hear
Yeah.
of all these accidents. Somebody made a left, and their biggest thing, I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've been to court cases where the person actually said, yeah, I saw him, but I thought I could beat him through the intersection.
Yeah.
You know what? So there's an admission right there.
Right.
People can't judge like they can. Now, if it was a tractor trailer, I can guarantee that person wouldn't have moved.
Mm-hmm. Probably wouldn't have chanced it as much.
No, their risk is higher
Yeah.
of them getting personally injured. When
Agreed.
you're on a bike, you're a spec, and they can't judge that speed very well. So
Yeah.
they figure they could just will it and just go.
Yeah.
Well, when that ends up happening, they end up creating an incident where they either kill or they injure that person.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of laws on the books right now that all you got to do is change the wording, allow it to go to a higher court instead of it being through a municipal, I think it was, that says this is all we can do. I've heard judges constantly say, this is as far as we can go. We've gone, this is the maximum the letter of the law will allow. Well, maybe it needs to be able to go to a higher jurisdictional court or something of that nature that says, okay, if injured, if killed, it then has the ability to be upscaled to another court.
Right.
And then you're not saying instantly that they're guilty. What you're saying is now there's a latitude that law enforcement officer and that judge has to make that decision if those guidelines apply.
Right.
And allow them to make that decision, which we're doing anyway. And if they're found guilty, well, then so be it. They may go to jail. They may lose their license. And all the things that everybody's wanting and screaming about.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're doing is you're allowing it to go through due process. All right? And by allowing it to go through due process, you can't complain then. Because if the person sits there and goes, yeah, I saw him, but I thought I beat him, guess what? You just admitted guilt. The biggest problem with any other piece of legislation is you have to establish guilt.
Yeah.
If you can't establish guilt, it's not a crime.
It's true.
So,
It's true.
something to think about. Again, read.
Folks, I'm telling you, you talk about being truthful and being on point and saying, things that need to be said. I mean, I think the biggest thing I'm taking away from everything today is, folks, just like you say, don't be a lemming, man. Do your due diligence. Just because somebody says it or you see it written down on the internet, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I know everybody thinks just because you see it on TV or on the internet that it's the gospel truth. It's not true. You got to be able to get in there and dig and find your own thing. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to take a little trip through Spain on some vintage bikes. Now, this is what's cool. If you're a biker, and we say this a lot too, if you're a biker, you get it. If you're not, well, not so much. The clip we're going to show is in Spanish. So if you understand Spanish, you'll understand it. But if you don't, well, you're still going to get it because they're out on their motorcycles, they're one with their machines, and they're going on some badass rides. I want to share that with you real quick here. Also, you remember the Evel Knievel toys? Did you have that when you were a kid? The Evel Knievel wind that gimmick up?
They caused me more grief than I can.
Yeah, right. We got one of the old vintage commercials that we want to start this segment off with. Check this out. You're going to love it. And we're back with more Born to Ride Radio right after this.
Is done. If it is impossible, this is Evel Knievel and the Evel Knievel shock-absorbing stunt cycle. You can make them do wheelies, backstands, even mid-air somersaults. And for that big jump, here's Evel, up and over that 4-foot ditch. Evel Knievel stunt cycle.
Today's best and tomorrow's greats. It's time
for Cranked Up Country.
This is Cranked Up Country, heard on all the great stations across the nation. Check us out, crankedupcountryradio.com, or find us on social media, see what's going on with us. Born to Ride Motorcycle Media is the hub for the American biker lifestyle. Read it, watch it, ride it. BornToRide.com. Check out Born to Ride magazine, the radio show, the podcast, the YouTube channel, and of course the events. It's the life and times of motorcycles and the people who ride them. Born to Ride, proud sponsor of the Cranked Up Country Radio Show podcast. Read it, watch it, ride it. BornToRide.com.
Today's best and tomorrow's greats.
So, you're on this thing, right? And it's just you and the road and the wind and the trees, and it fills you up. You're flying, but centered. Lost, but found. Every part of your body is engaged, every part of your mind is activated, synapses firing, dopamine oozing. It's chemical. You get off and you feel reborn. A god. Your spine is tingling, your core is vibrating, and that growl hums in your belly for the rest of the day. Because a great ride stays with you. It just lingers in your muscles, in your bones, and settles into your consciousness and seeps into the creases of your soul. Every hour is magic hour when you're on a Harley. But the magic isn't about what the bike can do. It's about what the bike can do to you.
Need we say more? Only at Crystal Harley-Davidson, Homosassa, Florida.
Dejamos salir palabras que quedan. Todo viene aquí, sinfonía desierta. Mi sediento amor te dirá que no, que ver no es con los ojos. Mi sediento amor
it's Born to Ride's the Safe at Home Bike Show. A 10-class bike show for you to easily enter. Best of all, it's absolutely free. Just enter your photos of your motorcycle with your name, make, and model to our direct message, Facebook, or Instagram. Best of show to be featured with a photo shoot by Eric Runyon for the cover of Born to Ride magazine. So be a part of the Born to Ride Safe at Home Bike Show.
It's Born to Ride Radio. We do this for you every Tuesday, 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for your support. A lot of folks checking in tonight. My brother Wayne Widsack is checking in. Horace is checking in. My buddy Jason also watching tonight. Appreciate you guys checking us out. And we went into the break, and the old school Evel Knievel commercial played. Man, I'll tell you right now, it's so funny because you see something like that, and it completely brings back the old memories. You had one too. We were talking about that.
Absolutely.
You got to tell everybody how you used to handle yours.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I mean, first I wasn't allowed to really have one. My old man didn't want me to have one of those because it was a bad influence.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Now look at me.
Yeah.
So I ended up having.
Yeah. Look how I turned out.
Yeah. I had this thing, and of course, you know, at Christmas, your grandparents always get you that stuff that was, well, at least back then,
right?
That stuffing.
Right.
It was like they split up a bag of nuts and cheap cologne and whatnot in it. But I remember we used to get this cheap cologne every year, so I doused this guy with this.
The Brute by Fabergé.
It was actually gray flannel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That smelled great when you lit it on fire.
Extra flammable.
Yeah, so I doused him in that, and I lit him on fire, and I rev him up, and I shoot him across the room, and oh, yeah, right into the curtains, almost burned the living room.
Oh.
Yeah, needless to say, I was Evel Knievel-less.
You were the evil.
At the end of that evening, yeah.
The evil of the Knievels.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, yeah, it was fun at the time.
Yeah.
So at least the wanting to burn things didn't take.
That and cutting open to see what was inside your Stretch Armstrong.
Actually, I can tell you that too. When you freeze him, he turned into like some kind of crystalline crap, and he would just break.
Would he now? I never froze mine.
Yeah, well, when we had it up in the Northeast, he was up on the back of the car, and he got left there overnight, and he wasn't exactly moving very much.
He didn't stretch very
much. No, he didn't stretch. He more or less popped. Yeah, took all the fun out of that. There's another toy.
Oh man, I'll tell you, we talk about this all the time with the old school toys. I mean, oh god, everything now is just everybody wants an Xbox, or kids just want a computer. But man, we had lawn darts. How safe was that?
I still have my original set of lawn darts.
Lawn darts. Throw a freaking metal spike up in the air and hope it doesn't land in somebody's head. Thunk.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And they wonder why.
Oh god.
But it was entertainment at the time. What were you going to do?
That's the truth.
That was when we were supposed to play outside.
It's the
something
truth,
they don't do
man.
now.
Gosh dang it. Oh man, the old school, and we were just talking too. We got off the air. We were talking about just some of the old cool things. I like I was telling you, I got hooked watching. You know how it is. You get on YouTube. Maybe I was looking for little tricks of the trade because I just learned all this programming stuff that we're using today to take the show up to the next level and make it look a little more polished than we used to, and. I was watching some of the training videos on this thing, and I found this guy that had restored or found an old Kawasaki, like a 73 or 74 KZ900. The old Z1 motors, the old inline fours that were just so solid back. Only had like 34,000 miles on it, but somebody had taken it and thrown it in the garage or put it out on the side of the house, and he ended up getting the thing and completely tore it down to the frame, replaced every bolt, replaced every nut, and he cleaned up a lot of the original stuff, the headlights and the lights and whatnot. But I just get so enthralled with some of that. A lot of times I come in here, Mr. Nightlife has the car shows and stuff on, but man, when I get into the old vintage bikes like we saw on that last clip, I just think that is so cool. And you had a pretty cool story about one of your buddies down there straightening out some rods.
Actually, a very knowledgeable guy that I knew for quite a number of years. I actually met him through his dad before his dad passed away, and that was Bobby. He's actually was now owner of Haps Honda over in Sarasota. I'm not real sure if he still have.
Haps is a great place, man.
Yeah,
great place.
His dad was a great guy.
Great people.
One of the first people I met when I came down to Florida in 1990. Very hospitable, very helpful.
I got a chance to meet those guys a few years back when we were Born to Ride. We were down doing Thunder by the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
They had a nice setup down there. Just super nice guys down there.
Yeah, Bobby's the way it should be.
Yeah,
is really what it is. He's a very, very people-minded person. He'll help anybody. I mean, a lot of people say that, about somebody. They'll help anybody. But Bobby would genuinely
actually do it,
and is that kind of person. To
tell them that story you're telling me about straightening out the rods.
Oh yeah, well that was a whole different story. That was from a friend of mine I used to work with. His name was Gary Sleazer. I'm sure those who have been in the biker world down here for a long time will know that name. And it's like I remember watching Gary one time.
Craig just checked in and said Bob Haps is still kicking.
Sweet, nice. Oh, you end up seeing Bobby. You tell him Jim said, hey, I love that guy. He's just an awesome individual. But I remember watching Gary. He's back there at the shop we were working at, and he's got the jugs off, and he's beating this set of flywheels, beating these rods to death in this vise. And I'm looking at him and I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, it fell off the truck, kind of got drug a little bit, and I'm straightening out the rods, and I'm just sort of like, okay, and this is an Evo motor, and I'm thinking, oh, this ought to be an adventure. I was like, so what made you prompt to do this? He goes, well, that's the way it says it in the manual. So he pulls out the manual. One's for WLA, which is made in the 40s,
right?
And the other one's for Knucklehead, which is another 30s and 40s bike. And there he is showing me the pages on how the factory would tell you how to straighten out the rods. So he's doing it on this Evo motor. So I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is going to be a disaster waiting to happen because, a little bit tolerance difference in there. And
yeah, right.
Well, lo and behold, he got that thing running. It wasn't the smoothest thing known to man, but I'll tell you, it still ran. And somebody did buy it, and they ran it until they did whatever they did with it. But yeah, it's even the old techniques that there used to be, they still work today in certain instances. It's just that. I guess you could say, like with everything else that's old school, it disappears, like lava soap. It worked.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Exactly.
You find it at Ace Hardware.
Bring back
that's
lava
about it.
soap,
Yeah.
damn it.
But it's like that.
And it's cool, and you see a lot, and that's why I get so enthralled, like I was saying, with these YouTube videos. This is an older guy, had a shop, and he was him and his son, and the cool thing is he was passing the knowledge down to his kid, and they rebuilt this thing and back to exact factory specs and did everything stock. They didn't do any of the aftermarket parts, and they actually had to machine some of the bolts and some of the things that were just they were too rotted away to come back, but it was just so cool to do, and it was pretty awesome. We've got another thing here I want to show you before we go. Folks, this is so cool because this actually puts you behind the handlebars from the Santiago Circle track racing thing, and also some footage from the Rockabilly 2020. Want to check that out. Dude, thanks for coming by here today, man. It's been a pleasure having you, and dude, the door is always open. You can come back. We'd love to have you back as often as you'd like to be up here, man. I know it's a drive for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But on these cool nights in the springtime, early May, this is a great time to be out. You're going to have a nice ride home. I kind of envy you.
Yeah, if I don't run out of gas.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, there's a Wawa 2 blocks from here. You can get a little filler up there.
I'm going to end up going.
And they got the non-ethanol too, so they can get you some of that on the way. But thanks for coming by, and dude, again, you're welcome here anytime. We appreciate you. We also look forward to your next articles coming up in Born to Ride. You got your next one ready to go?
I probably will 15 minutes before.
That a boy. I wasn't sure if you were going to admit to that or not, but listen, great writing, and listen, when you read it, just know that he probably had that 15 to 30 minutes before it got wet in the ink jet. Oh, check this video out, and we're back to wrap it up. Born to Ride Radio right here.
$400 so you could buy some car. Well, I love you so much, I didn't get too far. For $400, you were sweet that day. I guess that I should have known that you never repay. $400.
Ride TV Radio live every Tuesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. with Dave Flash Morgan, special guest, and Born to Ride TV content at Facebook, Born to Ride TV Magazine. Read it, watch it, ride it. Are you down with the nation? Tiny Trailer Nation, the biggest secret in travel and adventure. Take your motorcycle anywhere. Live in comfort on the spot. Say goodbye to hotel cost. Campers, toy haulers, themed trailers built for any budget. One bike or two. Includes electric, water hookups, microwave, refrigerator, sink, tie downs, and more. Your trailer or ours, new or used. Your dream is here at a working man's price. Tiny Trailer Nation, biker musician owned. A name you can trust.
Yeah, I have to say, Born to Ride has been a big influence on my trailer sales in the last 2 or 3 months. It's been nothing but a big surprise. I mean, the magazine articles, everything in the commercials, it's been nothing but the best of help to me in my business.
Is your business becoming invisible? Create a great advertising relationship today with Born to Ride. Call 888-795-5779.
Oh, yeah, Born to Ride Radio. We do this for you every single Tuesday. Make sure you share it if you got friends that need to be exposed, as we like to say, on to some of this great biker information. You got biker friends, make sure you let them know. And also, don't forget, we got a full YouTube. I mean, we're multimedia. It's Born to Ride multimedia, after all, folks. Pretty much hit borntoride.com. I'm sure all the links are there for everything. We got the Born to Ride Babes edition that's up there. That's good, fellas. Late night. Never mind. Cinco de Mayo. Nefarious Bob, you know, or Nefarious James, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The late night stuff. Born to Ride Babes. Listen, again, thanks so much for being here, man. It's been a pleasure. You know, one last thing before we go. I know you talk about what are your thoughts? The old versus the new. You know, we were talking about the old panheads and the Evo motors. Like my buddy One Ball Mike, he swears by the Evo motors. He's got one of the new, the full dressers with the 107 on it. Loves it, but he's like, man, he says it's nothing like my old Evo. What are your thoughts on old versus new?
Well, that's a tough one because I mean I sort of have both. I like my old ones. I think mostly because it's just easier for me to work on.
Yeah.
It forces me to go slower and enjoy my ride a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing 140 on my panhead. I got to agree with the Evo. Great motor, great platform. I think that that motor right there is it's long lasting. It's reliable. I love it. I mean, I've got 105,000 on the bike that's out in that parking lot right now.
Nice.
So it's already proven to me that it's a great platform and very versatile. You can do pretty much anything you want to do with it. The new ones still, you know, I think still in the trial phase as far as longevity. Mm-hmm. Granted, they're starting to make them bigger and bigger and faster.
Well, they sure are.
But with that comes, you know, other issues because, you know, you're talking about putting yourself under more power with less experienced riders because they're buying them and they can finance them at a dealer.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that whole thing where everybody complains about as we said earlier, the Japanese bikes. You know, you get a factory bike 200 miles an hour out of the box, and you're putting a guy who just got his permit.
Yeah.
You know, again, personal decisions. You got to make them smart. But in the same thing, there's training out there, and I don't think this is something legislation needs to get involved with. This should be personal choice. You got a brain. You can use it. If you think that, you know, riding your moped, and remember the old General mopeds? Yeah. You know, you can get on your General moped. And
Mr. Nightlife still has a Vespa.
Sweet. Those things are worth money now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you get on one of those, you know, it's way different. And next thing you know, you're cracking the throttle on a Hayabusa or a ZX14.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah, big
time. I'd like to see the younger guys who are going on those, kind of listen to the older guys. The older guys that are there. I mean, you've got guys that are my age that are riding those now, too. I started out on a VF Interceptor when I first started riding. Loved the bike, loved its handling, was stupid on it, like everybody else gets to be.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to try it. You're going to test its limitations. After all, that's what you paid the sticker price for.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as old versus new, it really depends on what your purpose and what you're wanting to do with your ride.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out there to do twisties and just, go out there and just rack it up, well, yeah, you can get yourself one of these nice new performers. Even some of the older ones that are still out there, the KZs, and
I
the
got
old
the old
Ninjas
ST1300, buddy,
and
that
the,
Honda.
and the old Katanas when they had those, and you know those are still out there and they're cheap.
Yeah,
but they're still fun.
That they are.
And same thing with Harleys. You can end up getting yourself a full dress bagger that weighs a ton, and you look great when you fall over at the traffic light because your legs didn't go down because you forgot to put them down off them fancy floorboards. Or you can get yourself, old shovel head, old pan head, and tool through there. But I'll tell you right now, you can go ahead and ride in your bagger that just cost you $40,000. I'll bring my put together pan head. We'll put them side by side. I think I'm going home a lot happier than you are. But it's just a matter of taste. It really is.
Yeah.
And it all goes down back to old school mentality. What you want to have in your life, what enhances your life, what makes you happy. And that's really what this comes down to.
Yeah.
Motorcycling is about making yourself happy.
Yeah.
It's about enjoying yourself, hanging with people that are like-minded, that want to do the same things you do. Granted, some of them are dumb as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If they're like you, more power to you. You're having fun with it. That's the whole idea. I think that's the whole purpose of riding, the whole purpose of the commercials for these manufacturers. They sell fun. They sell enjoyment. It's not just transportation. And that's important to remember is that it's a dual functioning tool.
Yeah.
You can use it economically to get where you're going. You can go have fun with it. And that's what I like about the platform with this magazine and with this show is it showcases not only the mechanical aspect of it, the history of it, but it also goes to show that it could be fun. It's a lifestyle to a lot of people. And with that lifestyle, there's different segments of that lifestyle. Not every segment is the same.
Yeah.
Some want to ride on the weekends, more power to you. Some want to end up riding all the time, more power to them. But it's how you want to live your life. Live your life. You get one shot at this, people.
That's
this
it.
isn't, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that again next time. I used to sit in the bars all the time. The thing that used to drive me nuts the most was the older guy that would be sitting there going, I wish I would have done that.
I wish, yeah. How
Go
many
out
times have
there
you heard that?
And freaking do it.
Yeah.
Nothing's stopping you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing that can limit you now. Science is taking care of all the limitations.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whether it's limbs, mental, whatever. Science is taking care of it. There's a way for you to go do it. But go enjoy your life.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. I think we're going to go enjoy it. It's Cinco de Mayo. You guys party safe. Stay home. Stay safe. And hopefully we'll be all getting together and hanging out at the bars again sooner than later. And we will see you next week right here on Born to Ride Radio. Until then, have a great week, everybody.
Hey, guys. This is Deputy LaCaze with the Volusia Sheriff's Office. I want to welcome you to Daytona Bike Week 2020. One of the things I'd like to see is all the people here. We're glad that you all come, and I just want to make sure that you understand, please don't drink and drive and ride safe.